Welcome to the London Hour. It's not in London, it's not an hour, but I'm here to share thoughts, commentary, and opinions with you about tabletop role-playing games and your other favorite forms of entertainment. How are we doing today? We're tackling the big dog today on stream. I've been nervous to stream before, just for, streaming reasons. This one's got me nervous that I'm going to say some dumb stuff and get people mad at me. I guess we'll find out. It's good to see those of you that are here in chat. This little plugin here is broken, so I can't actually see how many people are here, which is dumb. So maybe if I have to kill it and bring it back, because I'd like to know. Hey, thanks guys. I was a little rehearsed over the last several months. I workshopped that bad boy in the car for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. No, don't blame me. Well, you'll just have to put relationship stuff in your session today. I saw a thread start, so, this could be your prep. All right, let's see if I can get my little YouTube, whatever the thing is called, dock back and working. Loading. Why are you so lost? Aha! We're back. Okay, cool. Oh, dang. There's a lot of you here. What's going on? Everybody wants to talk about the romance and the RPGs, I guess. Yeah, for sure. Morning, Tortuga. How you doing? No. Nobody would want to be distracted from prep. That's crazy talk. Well, everybody, let yourself in. Find a comfortable place to be. Hey, Pepper, how you doing? Get your snacks or your coffee or whatever you need to get going. I did eat today, so that's good. I have my beverages set up. I had a plan for some background music today and then remembered I don't have YouTube, whatever, so it was playing ads while I was playing the background music, and I thought, no, let's not. Unless you're Toad, you've got people in your group really into role-playing romantic storylines, so you're here for this. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a fun back-and-forth conversation, hopefully. There's a lot of you here, so hopefully we can get a lot of participation. I'm going to be referencing a few things. We're going to talk about specific game systems and what they do or don't do to address romance. The vast majority of them do not address it at all, and that's not necessarily a problem, I don't think. But there are some systems that do try to tackle it, and I probably don't even know the best ones or the right ones. I only know what I know. And so I have 7 PDFs pulled up that we're going to be flipping through. I also have a lot of stories about RPG relationships. So I might share some of those. Might have a little bit of story time. That'll be fun. I did want to say before we get going, I reset the Fusion Cell goal. It's March 1st. So this channel launched on February 14th, and the support from everybody has been so incredible. That $44 checkbook balancing is basically every dollar I've spent towards anything remotely related to content creation, gaming, or launching this channel going back to June. So going all the way back to June, you guys have already helped me support and pay for everything I've done up to this point. In addition to, I had to dissolve the air conditioning unit fund, and I had to move a little bit of that money somewhere else. So that already went towards supporting my family, and I greatly appreciate it. It's awesome. Good. I already know I have implicit permission from Hippo to talk about any relationship stories. And I was thinking actually not only just with Sterling, but also the Mila Faith reaction, or not reaction, what are they called? Relationships. The Mila Faith sister relationship in our Girl by Moonlight game. So, yeah, it's going to be good. But thank you, everybody, for your support. It's been awesome. It's been incredible. This is 2 weeks and a day that we're at so far. And just the outpouring of support, both coming aboard the Patreon and joining up with the Discord. And for those of you out there who aren't, you're more than welcome to join. It's a great group of people. You can get in and do 99% of everything you'd want to do with us at the $3 tier. So there are games being started and run in that community. There's a Fiasco game that's being put together for a couple of us to try for the first time. I'm going to be running a Legend in the Mist play-by-post game, or multiple, depending on how the groups shake out or how we want to handle that. So, that's all good. You can probably hear my voice is not doing too hot. So I thought maybe I might have picked up COVID, but I haven't grabbed a quick test yet, so I don't know. It does feel a little better, but I can still feel it up in the upper chest. So that's why you got smoky, sexy London voice today. If that. Yeah, you guys listening in at work, that's awesome. Thanks for having the show on. What else did I want to talk about housekeeping wise? I think we're doing good on everything. And then also with the monthly support that you guys have shown, I can start budgeting for things like the backup internet I keep talking about. So that'll be good if I can get a more reliable backup, or maybe even it'll be better than my primary and I'll just use that instead. Also, extremely generous. Do I have here? Well, no, I didn't get that ready. One of our patron members and a close friend decided to send me their old computer, like packed up and shipped all the way from a different part of the States. So it's a beast, and I've got to find a place to put it and hook it all up and get it all squared away so that I can use it and still use this as my work from home location for work. So that'll be something I chip away at this week, but extremely grateful. That was our own Menendreas. He's a sweetheart. So yeah, I've got a rig that can probably most likely do all the things that have been failing so far. That's why yesterday I was saying when my computer was absolutely revolting, I was like, I think it knows. I think it knows. No problems today, though, because I didn't put the settings back up to normal. So you got low resolution, 720p at 30 frames per second, and we're going to just deal with it. But, it's talking head day, so shouldn't be a problem. So the other thing I'm going to reference is long ago in another server, there was a lengthy back and forth text conversation about this very topic. And that is why I knew I would have enough to say about it to fill a stream. So where did it go? It's over here somewhere because I bumped it yesterday. There it is. So we're going to look through here as well. Not to name any names of anybody's opinions or thoughts. But because, it is a topic that not everybody is comfortable engaging with. And it's a topic that a lot of tables are not comfortable engaging with. It's a topic that some players don't even want to see in their games. I think I've made my stance clear in previous streams, but to keep it all condensed in one place, to me, you're getting, you'll be named Hippo. And Min is the best. This is facts. But yeah, my stance on it is that, to me, if I'm playing in an RPG, I want to be investing in that space. I'm not super high character bleed. I don't go into the I am this character. I can as an exercise if I think it's fun or useful, but that's not usually my default stance. I've come to realize that I'm a little bit more author stance than I think I realized. Definitely when I'm handling NPCs or GMing, for sure. I was going to maybe talk about that Thane Evelyn scene too from the other day, because that was a lot of fun. How could you name me?
Incoming message.
Dude.
Thanks for being awesome.
Dude. Tortuga. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the massive tip. There you go. So we are completely zeroed out. And when I say everything I've spent in this channel, I want you guys to know, when I launched that first stream, I had a $100 startup costs tip goal, and that was the hard costs. I had to do this to get the channel even working. What Tortuga just helped me balance out again is every dollar I've spent on anything related to this hobby, any support I've shown to any other streamer in communities that I was trying to build and support. So that's it. That's all of it. It's all up from here. And I'm not going to have the costs I had from the last 7 months each month. So you guys have been awesome, amazing. I appreciate you so much. And I hope that I hope the channel is demonstrating value to you. That's what I'm here for, is to be of value, be of use, have important, meaningful conversations. That's kind of what I'm interested in. So, thank you a million. Thank you so much. I am gonna briefly stand up and draw my shade here so that I can get the light balancing better. So I will be right back. Let me just do that. No, do that. Okay, I'll be right back. And we're back. Cool. So I don't know. Where do you guys want to start? What do you want to talk about? Romance and relationships in RPGs. My stance on it, I think I was saying when Tortuga tipped and distracted me, that to me, I want to invest in the character. I don't need to feel like I'm there, but I need to be able to put myself there in the same way that I could if I'm reading a book. Right? So that's really all the more character bleed that I need. Again, character bleed being the sense of like where you become the character becomes you, and their emotions can affect you and your emotions can affect them. That definitely can happen. But yeah, what else? So to that point, for my purposes, relationships are a reality of life, and to just kind of wordlessly exclude them from the experience of embodying a character is weird to me. And I guess I understand, like, not every novel is a romance novel. And not every novel has a romance. But the novels that have romance, and the games that have romance. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making any sense. Pepper asks, how do you get more comfortable with doing it in the first place? I notice a lot of people want to, but get embarrassed. Wow. This is going to be huge, because this is not a quick answer. This is not a simple answer. And I don't know. There is an element of it, of just embracing what you want for yourself, embracing what you want to experience, and saying, pardon my French, fuck everybody else who might have a problem with this. Now, we'll probably get into this topic as well, but you need to have like consent between players. You need to have consent between the table, as far as like what they do or don't want to see or be part of. If they're like, hey, look, you guys can develop your relationship and you can go do it in a private Discord channel in between sessions, and you can kind of bring the atmosphere of you being in a relationship to the table, but maybe we just don't want to see it. So you gotta communicate above board with everybody. But to the point of like, how do you get more comfortable with doing it in the first place? Maybe another answer would be, maybe you don't have to be comfortable doing it to do it. Maybe it's okay to be a little uncomfortable with it. In the same way that you might be slightly uncomfortable, when you're meeting someone new and you have the butterflies in your own stomach and you're unsure of like how it's going to go, and there's that kind of anxious nervousness. So maybe that's another angle. Maybe you don't have to be comfortable. You just have to. Sometimes you can commit yourself to things and then let your friends help you follow it through. So you could say at the top of a game session, be like, hey, so this might be a little different. This might be a little weird to some of you, but I would like to explore what it's like to role play out a relationship somewhere, sometime in this campaign. But I'm so nervous that you're going to be weirded out by it that I won't like choose myself and do that. So I'm wondering if you guys are okay with that even being a thing, if you can like support me in exploring that, because it is something I'm very interested in. Session 0 is really the time to have those conversations. And sometimes when session 0 comes and goes and you haven't had that conversation yet, it feels too late almost. It's not. But I could see somebody being like, oh, well, maybe I'll try it in a different game someday. When I first came out as gender fluid to anybody other than my closest friends, it was because we were playing a Girl by Moonlight campaign, and I was making a character, and Girl by Moonlight, hashtag shout out Girl by Moonlight, is very much a game that empowers you to engage with ideas of gender, sexuality, whatever. Okay? And I was making this character that was a kind of, I don't even know how you'd describe him, kind of like a bookish, sort of attractive man, right? Young man. And I wrote in that like there were other girls that had been interested in him, but like he always just kind of like pushed them away, like kind of like no. And in that game, his avatar persona, which is when they go into the dream space, his avatar persona was like this. I don't know if buxom's the right word, but like this very womanly woman, very outgoing, very gregarious, and he hated that she was how he showed up in the dream world, and she hated that he resented him. And so I had this really fascinating character dynamic. I had it so that when he would go into this avatar state and give control over to her, because in that game model, they are not the same person. They are different identities. There's a permanent blindfold over her eyes because that's like one of the last vestiges of control that he put onto her. And so she's always just like, she can see, but she's never allowed to show her eyes. And so she hates him for that. So I had this dynamic of a character representing this like internal hatred. And I was like, this is awesome. And I don't know how I want to approach this with a group of other individuals without giving them the context that like, this is for me to explore. Like it's obviously like punched up to 11, right? But this is for me to explore. And so that literally, that session 0 was when I came out to everybody in the Discord as gender fluid, which was terrifying. And I like typed it up, I sent the message, and I immediately ran and went to my DMs and got all the hugs and support that I needed. And I was scared as shit. And that's kind of a big identity thing. That's maybe more severe than just saying, hey, I want to explore what relationships look like in RPGs. But it speaks to that same level of trust and bravery that's required to advocate for yourself. And I wasn't on close terms with all of those players either. But I had gotten to a point where I was just like, God damn it, like fuck everything. Like I just want to be me. I just want to figure out me. I want to play these games. I want to get my experiences out there. And I think you soften that a little bit, but if you have somebody who wants to explore relationships in RPGs, I would say, just say, hey, I want to do this and I'm not even sure how to navigate it with the rest of you. So put that out there first. And even if nothing comes back out of that conversation for a session or two, and then maybe revisit it in it, if you're doing post-session, stars, wishes, whatever, they could just bring it up and be like, hey, so like, I know I mentioned this the other day. Not really sure how it's going. I'm seeing an opportunity in this campaign to go this way, whether it's PC with an NPC or PC with another PC. Those are two sides of the same coin. The GM, as they're playing NPCs, they can pretend this extra like level of detachment, right? So they can be like, oh, well, it's just an NPC. Whereas a PC to PC, there's two real people invested in those characters, and that can get a little touchy for people, depending on how much they're associating the character with themselves. For once, I have to scroll way back up and catch up with chat because this is awesome. You guys are contributing so much. I hope that was helpful, but we'll see if anybody else has got other thoughts as I go. D Priest, you're curious why relationship and romance in TTRPGs are so interesting for people. I have a theory. And my theory is that people who know or see and embrace TTRPGs as a means of self-expression and discovery, if they know that's what they're looking to get out of the game, it opens more doors of things for them to explore. They are possibly looking at it with a very real sense of, I can take something away from this, and I can learn from this, and I can grow from this, and I can take what happens in these fictional relationships, and I can use them to bring a better relationship back home to my partner. I think there is an alignment of people who engage with RPGs in the first place, that there is already an implicit understanding of discovery. That's my theory. And there are innumerable gamers out there who want to roll dice and smash things. and that's fine too. That's the board game tactical aspect of RPGs, and that's fine. Puzzle solving, dungeon delving, all that stuff. So it's a very mixed. It is and has been and will always be a very mixed base of the hobby. But I think that over time, you have players of different sorts, and they will cross pollinate their interests. And I think even those who are just like, oh, I'm just here to smash things, they may find over time, like, hey, I saw this player curate and cultivate this experience, and I'm kind of interested to get a taste of that. So I think that cross pollination can help as well. We're all weirdos here. That's what we're here. Logan says, bleed is tough in romance angles. You have to be very careful to protect yourself and the partner you're sharing the scenes with. Absolutely. And everybody else that's in the scenes. And I'm going to read back what I wrote in this post forever ago. This was my opening post. I said I had never played out an RPG relationship before the last 2 years or so. And for whatever reason, I've now been involved in several. So there are sure to be some general principles here, but also anecdotal stories, and curious as ever to know how other people feel about the topic. First off, though this seems like it shouldn't have to be said, it really needs to be. And then in all bold, I said, do not play around into RP relationships if there is any chance you are going to develop real, IRL, emotional connections with the character or the player playing the character. Growing close to someone while exploring vulnerable characters is fine, but we all know where the line is. If you think there's a risk you might cross it, don't even start. Again, I'm not the authority on this, but I already knew at that point. I posted this in August of 2024, that there is the real potential for people to not be self-aware of where the line is. And emotions are going to do what they do, you know? If they could be controlled, they wouldn't be emotions. The best thing you can do with an emotion, they say, is an emotional spike will pass after 90 seconds if you can just keep yourself from doing anything about it, and then you can try and regulate and like ride the wave out. And that goes with all, depression, anxiety, elation, excitement, arousal, whatever. But I think it's something that some might need to be careful about. I think it's something that may not be for everyone to do. So I put that caution out there as well in this stream because, I don't want, God, could you imagine somebody coming back into my comments and being like, you did that stream on relationships and it seemed so cool. So I did a romance in my game and now like I'm breaking up with my partner. I'd be like, oh God, please don't. On the other hand, I'm going to say it anyway. On the other hand, you might learn things about yourself that may inform what your relationship looks like. And I hope and I pray that if you do learn those things, that they serve improving and enriching your existing relationships. But sometimes classically, we don't know when we are being maybe taken advantage of or unappreciated. And this is the disclaimer. Use extreme care. If you're going to do relationships in RPGs, use extreme care. On the plus side, if you do like 20 of them, then it's not like you're going to be pointing to any one and being like, this is the one that ruined my life. So anyway, I had to get that said. But you're 100% right, Logan. Yep. There you go on the bleed risk. Also makes me feel the world is more alive and real. I will say New Dawn is a bit of like, there's a lot of saturation of relationships. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot. And I'm okay with that. A lot of the core group right now are operating in the Temple of Shellen, and Shellen is the goddess of love and beauty and art. And so that kind of makes sense. And, people also self-select to have a character in the Temple of Love in the first place. So like, there's a self-selection bias going on there, and I'm here for it. Kalana says, to me, it's kind of like starting to do accents or funny voices at the table after you've got table consent. You just got to go for it at some point. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Scrolling. You guys are saying amazing things, but we got to keep going. But the scroll just jumped on me. Where did I go? Ruby was a vamp. Yes, accurate. She was a vibe. She was great. The Lan and Ruby dynamic was awesome. On we go. See, for Logan, RPGs are all about the relationships. I have made a comment in jest, but not really. Some of my, I consider them my famous sayings because I like them that much. But some of my famous sayings are: character creation is not over until you have cried for or about your character. And I also say all RPGs are about love in the end. Which I don't even think is that much of a falsehood, you know. I think that whether it's romantic or platonic or the love of your family or your tribe or your village or your hometown or whatever, we're out there in this fictional world taking action, and why. Really drill down into why. Like, why are you out here doing any of this? Sure, you're going to have some characters who are like, I'm just trying to get by. I just want to make some coins, so I'm going to go loot this dungeon. Okay. But I think for a lot of characters, if you drill down and force them to answer, if they're hesitant to answer, you can get to a why that speaks to other people in their life that they're doing something for. And that's where I come up with all RPGs are about love in the end. Yes, that's what I'm here for. Is RPGs are a game, they're a social activity, and they're a tool in my eyes for they're an opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery. I don't begrudge anybody who doesn't come to them for that. That's fine. But I'm going to keep doing it, so get used to it. Keep scrolling. All right, Hippo. You like exploring relationships in TTRPGs because I think of my character as a real person. Yeah. And sometimes real people fall in love or want relationships. That's 100% it for me. This is interesting. D-Priest. If there are no feelings or excitement doing a relationship, it feels icky to me because then it's playing out something intimate while feeling empty. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a tough topic. And I knew months and months and months ago, before this channel even existed, I was going to someday do a stream about romance and RPGs. And I knew that it was going to be a difficult and interesting topic. I think that hopefully people who are engaging in pursuing a relationship in an RPG are doing it with a sort of earnestness and not just to like check a box, I guess, is maybe how I'd want to put it. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, but found family and real life change your life so much for the good. TTRPGs to me feel all about found family and it fulfills me in such real ways. Yep, 100%. Cool. I finally caught up with chat. You guys are awesome. So let's see what else. I don't know. I think I'll scroll through this old post a little bit more and see what else comes out. Thanks, D-Priest. No, you're not being too difficult at all. You're asking important, deep, healthy questions. Yeah. As far as being a method RPer, that's interesting. I never thought of that as a term before until I came back to New Dawn a couple weeks ago. And I frequently will, as I'm writing out a scene, this is play by post again, as I'm writing out a scene, I'm like, how do I describe how my character's face looks right now? So I make the face. I like imbue the emotion. I let the emotion sit with me. I like put myself in that place. And then I let that emotion play out. And then I observe what happens to my own demeanor, my own face. And then I use that in the scene. And it didn't occur to me until like very recently. I was like, oh, that's like method role playing. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm talking here about healthy emotional boundaries are important. There's also the flip side of the table where you're dealing with another player who may not be interested in you getting fixated, possessive / weird about their character or especially them. Again, consent and communication are critical and crucial. And there's other members from this channel who are commenting, as far as we're not even going to need to touch on really the intimacy aspect, because I think it's pretty universally understood that unless you have explicit like games set up for ERP, if you don't know what that is, then basically everybody understands like, yeah, we're going to fade to black on that. Fade to Black is your go-to, right? Yeah. So there is going to be that little gray line where it's like, do we discuss them like kissing or do we not or whatever? But figure it out with the table. I mean, it's different for everybody. So. Here's Min. I was going to talk about Min in a second. I think your seat as either actor or writer can have a lot of impact on how you approach romance and RPGs, what you get out of it, etc. So, Min, can I talk about Safa and Hanlon? Let me know. Some players have the experience where because of their real-life physicality or their character's gender, other players try to initiate romance in a not cool way. Yeah, I mean, there's horror stories out there galore. 100%. I've been blessed to just be surrounded by awesome people who are into the earnest exploration of this. And having had those good experiences, I would tolerate a bad experience for all of like 0.5 seconds. And I'd be like, get the fuck away from me. So you got to hold your own emotional boundary lines as well, which is important to know yourself. Right on. Okay, so how much of the story do we want to go into? I'm trying to think how much context is needed for this. So Hanlon and Safa are two characters in New Dawn, Pathfinder 2, play-by-post mega game. I'm going to go all the way back to Sarah, I think, to set this up. So as a player, Hanlon was this upstart leader. He was given rule over Star Keep by Chancellor Irahai and Mendev. If these names don't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. And so we played for a couple months, and I was like, I don't really know where he's going as a character, and I don't know what I'm getting out of it again at this point. I was exploring the like. Well, this is actually how I got to this. He was very much like, do what you're told, go. Throughout the Crusades, he had a job that he was running packages and messages back and forth to the front lines on horseback. And, he came out of the Academy of Support Specialists, which was a rogue school. He went through like rogue college. And he was very much like by the book, like do what you're supposed to do. And then he got this leadership position given to him. And after a couple months, I was like, I don't really know where to go with him from here. How do I introduce a new angle? And I realized like he's just been doing what he's been told this whole time, and he hasn't dared to like live for himself. So I had this opportunity in the story where he started to think about relationships and whatever. He had been too busy for them in the past. And so when they came back to town, he went to visit Sarah, who was this local Callistrian tavern keeper, very much the like very sex positive Callistrians are, the very sex positive lust, revenge, and trickery are the three tenets of the Callistrians. And he came to her house in the middle of the night. And it was funny because everybody in the out of character chat were just like, oh, what's going on here? And I was like, no, it's not that. This is going to be an interesting conversation where he opens up about how he's never done anything for himself. And so I played that scene out with the GM at the time. And no, that's what it turned into. So they ended up hooking up that night because as I was in the scene, I was like, wait, like he clearly didn't expect this. I clearly didn't expect this, but the way this scene is going, he's absolutely going to like be intimate with her. And that took me by surprise. Then it was this exploration of like, okay, for me as a person, me, London, I'm not one who's done the casual relationship thing ever. Casual intimacy. And I was like, that idea makes me uncomfortable. I don't even know what that would look like. And then I went, light bulb. I can figure out what that's like in a way. Kind of, right? And so I was like, okay, can Hanlon figure out how to navigate a casual relationship where there aren't any labels on it and he might not feel secure in it? And the answer is no. He fell in love with her and he told her that. And she was like, yeah, dude, that's not my jam. Like, I don't do relationships. I do the other thing, And they had a mutual respect for each other and everything like that. But that ended. And it ended right before another two characters were getting married. So then I have Hanlon, and he's sitting around, I think we were sitting around a fire. So Hanlon's sitting there with his back to this log, and they're sharing some drinks around. And first of all, so Safa's there. Safa was Min's character, and Safa was kind of this. She was the wild woman that like people didn't know what to expect, and she had all these secrets. She had already shared with Hanlon by this point that she was Kitsune, and that their people had been hunted, and how they had been in hiding for 13 years, and big whole story that goes along with that. And Safa didn't drink, but she was drinking in that scene while they were all discussing how Hanlon had just gotten broken up with. And was it by a tree? Okay, yeah, I think you just reread this recently. And so he's talking about how Sarah broke up with him, and then Min has Safa say something to the effect of like, well, that was stupid of her to do. You would be a good mate. She's very like tribal, like the Kitsune like mate, right? It's just for practicality, whatever. And me as a player and Hanlon as a character, it was like a record scratch moment for us both. We were like, wait, hey, wait, what? And I was like, hold the fuck on. And that moment of like I hope I'm conveying the moment of like shock and surprise and just being like, huh? Like, this is the power of role-playing games. We're talking about a budding romance, but like this is the power of role-playing games, period, is the ability to be surprised, the ability to have, like, you're not an author. You're not writing a story. You are writing a character in a book that has 15 other people that are controlling everybody else. Well, in our game, it's like 15 people. And so at the same time, the third character sitting around there is Sterling, which is Hippo's character. And Hippo has said that there was a scene a couple of weeks prior where Sterling and Safa were learning, or Safa was teaching Tian, the Tian language, to Sterling, and that at that moment Sterling was falling in love with Safa. So now we have Sterling in love with Safa. Safa's displaying some level of interest in Hanlon, and Hanlon has just gotten broken up with by the woman that he just fell in love with because she doesn't do relationships. Yada, yada, yada. A long period of interesting developments, and now those three are in a polycule because that's what happens in RPGs, apparently. Which was another thing where it was like, I don't know what that's all about. This is an opportunity to figure out what that's like. Like, how will Hanlon handle if there's elements of jealousy? How will Hanlon handle if, there's elements about this that he might be uncomfortable with? So these are things you don't just casually go out into the world and just do, right? But in an RPG, when you have mutual buy-in from your fellow players and everybody's on the same page and everybody's okay with everything, you can really explore some interesting, emotional, rich tapestry of dynamics. But the reason that I wanted to bring up this story is that we had conversations out of character following this, and Min said something to the effect of, correct me if I'm wrong, Min, that like exploring relationships in RPGs is exactly, well, you probably didn't say exactly, is a lot like exploring relationships in real life. You test the waters, right? You seed things and see how they react. And you can kind of tell by how somebody, you still want to get above board consent, but you can kind of tell by how somebody reacts in character if they're buying into that idea or not. Because you're simulating what would otherwise be a real life relationship. Hey, Thaddeus, thank you, man.
Nothing insightful to say, as this is a topic I'm very much not familiar with, but interested in understanding.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, you don't have to have anything insightful to say because I will fill the time, clearly. But yeah, that was really eye-opening for me. Is Min was just like, oh yeah, I mean, like if you through Hanlon had just kind of like not engaged with that, none of that would have happened. So he's like, I didn't have to like be like direct message like, hey London, do you want to have a relationship with my character? Like, we didn't have to do any of that, because when you engage earnestly and the characters are who the characters are, you can have them do the little testing and the little flirtings and the little whatever. And the reaction of the person role-playing opposite you will tell you a lot. And then you still have a conversation anyway. So, yeah. Okay, chat again. Consent, yes, consent and safety tools, super important. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, only play with groups that use safety tools, sure. Or a robust line of communication. because safety tools can be a shorthand for robust communication. But if you have the time and the space for robust communication, do that too. That's always good. Hippo rereads the wedding stuff like twice a year. Yeah, I got to go back and reread that all again. That was a really fun scene. I also want to go back and reread the Stardust Festival. This is when it all kind of came to a head, and they all kind of confessed that they were all interested in each other. But to complicate things further, Hanlon and Sterling were not necessarily interested in each other, but they were both interested in Safa. So it was a triangle missing a leg for a while there. But for a while. Yeah, actually, yes. The intimacy of sharing Kitsune identity. Let me go pull this up. When I was away, I did some bookkeeping for our campaign guide. Because we track, mostly I track when every scene that's ever happened happens on the calendar, and I plot it and link it to the actual post. So Safa came into the story in, I'll use our month terms, December 2nd in the story. Safa came into the story, and Safa confessed that she was Kitsune to Hanlon on December 26th. So she was only around for like a month when she opened up to him. And even that was like, she was like, hey, like, you seem like a trustworthy person. Please don't get my people murdered. But that was a great scene as well. Great scene. Let me get back with chat. Oh, I just caught that. Nice. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. You guys are a riot. It's the tracking for me is so important to how I engage with the story that I kind of don't even give a shit if any of you use it. I'll be honest. I did it for me to start with, and I was like, hey, I'm doing this because I want to know when things happen. I want to know if the scene I'm having with you right now is a week after the last scene we had, or if it's a month after the last scene we had, because that changes things. So I track all that stuff. I do. Okay, so I want to go back to this post because this is working out well for me. Another member of this post said, speaking for myself, it's always weird and uncomfortable. So fair, For some people, they're not into it. And they don't have to be. I'm not here to tell you to be into relationships and romance and RPGs. I'm just here to rant about them. So I started listing off different angles of relationships, the fun friendship side, the proud supportive side, the arguments and disagreements side, intimacy, IRL relationship views, different approaches, why, that was my number 7 here. Which is what we're doing today. A player's individual reasons for wanting to explore a relationship, because you know what? Maybe their reasons for wanting to explore a relationship aren't healthy either. So that's good to get out and above board. Like, I want to explore a relationship because I explicitly want to get away from my toxic relationship. It's like, maybe let's explore that, but maybe also let's talk about how you need to get some things addressed in your personal life. Like, well, yeah, I don't know how else to say that, but you can't just let a fiction, a fantasy substitute for doing the actual work that it takes in real life, which sucks. And that's why sometimes it's very tempting to just disengage and then come to gaming or come to stories or come to video games or movies or anything and disengage. And I think somewhere deep in your heart if you're disengaging and it means that something needs to change, and that's tough. And I'm here for you if you need to talk through anything like that ever, if you're part of my community, because boy, I tell you. Curiosity question: what is the most exciting, engaging phase part of playing out romantic relationships in a game? It is like its own, for me, it is like its own kind of love. You can feel actual emotions. You can cry. You can feel joy and excitement. You can feel anticipation. If you write something that's maybe a little more forward than those characters have been in the past, and you're like, oh boy, okay, they're going for it. So I'm going to write this out, and then you're waiting for your scene partner to respond, and you're like, how are they going to respond to this? So I would say it's just kind of like it's an emotional playground, treated properly, and I just find it really rewarding personally. I think it's cool. Exploring these things also helps characters grow and change. When I started Thane, at first I had a lot of ace feels with him, but then Min had Evelyn come around and she made Thane look at things. Yeah. So Thane and Evelyn, which kind of just ramped up the other night. So Thane, I need to get to know Thane better, and I'm trying to do it in character. But Thane is, he's a 19-year-old champion of Shellen. He's here to like be a good guy, And Evelyn is this farm girl who came into the Temple of Shellen as well to be an acolyte before Thane showed up, I think. And so there, we're all just like, oh look, they're so cute together, right? We're just messing around. And there's this big party going on, and we're all going to die, but there's this party going on beforehand. So there's like Ikes was running this event, another friend of the channel, and he's got these phases. He's like, okay, there's going to be a dancing phase, and then there's going to be a banquet phase, and then there's going to be I don't remember what all the phases were. But during these phases, you can make one of these checks. You're basically getting points towards a scorecard at the end, and whoever does the best is going to get a bonus item, as a prize for being like the best partier. So we're playing through that, and there's dancing scenes. So Thane and Evelyn are dancing, and it's just fun, to watch them interact because they're not in a relationship. They live in the same temple and they're friendly with each other. But we're all just kind of like, ooh. And then, we have all these other characters coming around Thane, all these other women. And somebody, I think it was probably Kalana. She was like, oh, Evelyn's going to be jealous. And then so we both basically raced to figuring out the NPC command to play as Evelyn for a hot minute because Min was in a game. And so then that just turned into a thing where, like, that was a really interesting one for me because I ended up piloting Evelyn in that scene. And it would be so easy to just be like, oh, okay, she's going to come up. She's going to flirt with him. She's going to try to, like, mark him as her territory because there's all these other women around and she doesn't know what's going on. But I was thinking about who she was as a character. And this is more of an NPC relationship type situation, right? So I'm not bringing, like, what I want out of a relationship into this scene. I'm just like, who is Evelyn? And so I had her kind of like try to like stake her claim a little bit. She's like, oh, Thane and I, like, we like to talk about his adventures over dinner. Like, implication, like, we spend our nights together and you can figure out what that means. However, I also noted in the out of character chat, I was like, she would be horrified if other people heard her say that because she doesn't want that to be the implication. But with these other women in the scene, she was just kind of like, oh, like, I'm here and I know this guy. I've known this guy for months and I don't know who you are, but like, what are you doing talking to him? But I had her really wrestle internally with her emotions about it. And she kind of got like scared by her own feelings. And she's like, oh my God, what am I doing? So I had her like run out of the scene. And then Thane like is like, oh, excuse me. So he comes after her and he's like, hey, did I do something wrong? Like, did I upset you? I cry for your forgiveness. And she's just like, oh, I didn't run away. That's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? I'm just talking to Amy because I haven't seen Amy in so long. And so he's like, oh, and like he goes away all like sad Michael Cera, back to work the booth at this event. And she's just there like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do with these feelings. And that's where we left it. So that was a fun scene as well. Good stuff. All right, what else we got going on over here? Okay, so actually this is something somebody else wrote. One of the biggest dangers I've seen in RP relationships is things moving super fast and then players burning out. So keep that in mind. Like, slow burns are always more rewarding, but they take a lot more work to explore. And I should say, I try to approach this stuff without a deterministic view. I'm not, again, Evelyn's an NPC. She's not my character. But as far as me having hands on that character for a moment, I am not trying to drive to an inevitable conclusion. Evelyn and Thane might have a little budding romance. They might not. Amy and Vafi, whether or not you believe me, and Kalana, we communicated about how we're like, we don't actually know if they will actually be in a relationship. We know that they're extremely close friends, and maybe it'll be that they find somebody who's right for both, either of them, and they don't go into a relationship. I know nobody believes me because they were like, even in character, all the characters were like, you guys are together, right? And they're like, what? No. So that was good. I really loved her struggle in that scene. Her reactions were so real, and the fact that there was no resolution was exciting because it saved room for more. Yeah, that was a fun exercise. It was a good writing exercise. Min's answer to Deepriest's question is that he's very much a writer, so anytime the romance is creating additional drama, that can happen at any stage. Yep, we have no shortage of drama, that's for sure. Let's see. So I'll read the rest of this comment that somebody else posted. They said, RP has a way of heightening things, making them more intense. You take massive risks for massive rewards, throwing caution to the wind, etc. In relationship RP, this can manifest as speed running, from friends to crush to dating to marriage, or break up stupid fast and cause all that emotion to smash you over and over like giant waves. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, well, I can check. Actually, I don't know when the scenes were posted, so I can't really check. I think it was like 5 or 6 months of play with Amy and Vafi before they, finally realized that they loved each other. And that was a whole thing. I mean, I could do a whole stream on Amy and Vafi. I could do a whole stream on those two. Very friends to lovers, but realizing like, oh, I've always been in love with you. Not like, this is not a new development. This is a new realization kind of a thing. But that was good because Kalana actually spontaneously threw us into a flashback scene because they were discussing actually helping out Hanlon and Safa and Sterling because they were going through some stuff. So they were making them a dinner that they were going to bring over. And Vafi suddenly had this flashback to when they were in the monastery together. And the first time that Amy got like chosen by the goddess Shellen to be a guardian, because she was a street rat, basically. She got abandoned as a kid, Amy did. And so this was the moment where she actually got to come and live in the temple. And they had this moment where like Vafi was like brushing her hair and like cleaning her because she was just filthy, and cleaning her up because she was going to be presented to the abbess, I think in the morning is what it was. So this was like really tender moment when they were like 12 and 13 together that she flashed back to. And so for her, that was her realizing like, wait, I think I've been in love with Amy this whole time, but I didn't realize it because I was supposed to be betrothed to somebody else, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then Amy realized, oh, wait, I'm in love with Vafi, but Vafi isn't doing anything about it. So she must think that we can't be together. And here I am being flirtatious and pushing things. And now I'm a terrible person. So she runs away and goes and talks to another character. And then that other character is like, are you stupid? You obviously both love each other. And then they went in. Then they had their first kiss. It was very sweet. Yeah. Poor Vafi. Her family really fucked her up. Not too bad, obviously. Relationship speedrunning is a super common pitfall. Takes experience to write properly. Yeah. The other cool thing too is being able to watch other people who are practiced at it or skilled at it, if we want to call it that, will help you identify your own pacing. So that's always a good thing too. Don't make me be honest with myself, Hippo. Don't make me do it. Alejandra, welcome. I think romance is so fun because it is impossible to fully mathify. Fair. You simply can't abstract it. It has to be human in a way that basically only RPGs can do. That is a really good take. Now I do know games have been introducing video games have been introducing romance options for the last 2 decades, really, more or less. Has become a bigger thing. And I haven't really played through any game that has a measurable video game romance to really comment on that. I know it was all the rage with Baldur's Gate 3. So I don't know if that can approach a similar feel, but you're right. Like the human element, you cannot predict what somebody else is going to do, and you cannot predict how they're going to respond, and it's super cool vibes. I love that image, Pepper. You can't even bring yourself to eat the popcorn. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the conversation. It's a good one. What else did people say back in 2024 about this? Here's the other fun thing I will say about New Dawn. Again, Pathfinder 2, mega campaign, play by post. Because we play it 1-to-1 on the calendar, you're forced to let things breathe. No, you're not forced, but like time passes at the rate that it passes for us, and it gives a weight to the developing relationships if you have them. So maybe this is something that like play by post in this style is uniquely suited for. That's a very possible thing. I've not seen relationships really done in live play, to be fair. I'm not an actual play watcher. I'm sure there's romances out there in Critical Role or whatever else everybody's doing. But yeah, that's another thing to think about. Oh, bummer. Video game romance options feel so gross to me because how badly they emulate it. That's funny. That is funny. That's an interesting point too. Yeah. Because the game is saying like, hey, this romance is available to you. All you have to do is make the right choices. And that's kind of like, what? It's kind of like when you're doing ping pong and you flip up the other end of the table and you're playing against yourself, kind of. I don't know. That was a perfect metaphor, and I won't be told otherwise. Let's see. Hey, this might be an interesting point. Awesome. Yeah, I saw that thread get started, so. So strangely forced. Sometimes playing Baldur's Gate 3, it was like every other NPC was hitting on me, and I was constantly like, where's this even coming from? Min, you made, clearly, you made a very desirable character. That's all that means. This isn't, I wonder if I should risk just reading this or if I should pre-read it to make sure I don't say some crazy stuff in this comment. Let's just send it. I said, I think when a lot of people imagine an RPG relationship, they're thinking you have to, in all caps, play the relationship almost like it's a character of its own. Maybe that's a bit of the heightening that somebody else mentioned. But I found that honestly, being in a relationship is not life-defining, not in IRL and not in RPGs, in the way that like I still have to go give 40 hours a week to my day job and still do chores and groceries and dishes. I don't know what I'm talking about in this comment. Or to flip the script, still have to run the town and oversee fantasy migrant crises and deal with demons on the borders. Your priorities and what matters to your character changes, but they're still just a person that gets hungry and tired and cranky. And then, yeah, they say some sweet nothings to their lover, but life goes on. Okay, I see the point I was making. The relationship is not and should not be all-consuming. It's context. If every conversation and every roleplay moment is unceasingly about the relationship, it'll get tired really quickly. Meanwhile, most of the most dangerous missions we've run in New Dawn, it's not relevant. Okay. So, yeah. Video game romance feels more interested in flattering the player than in like doing romance. That's a very, very well put comment. All right, let me see if there's anything else good in this thing, and then we might flip over and look at some games and how they handle relationships. As we know, how Pathfinder 2 handles relationships, obviously very well, right? Almost all of these stories are from Pathfinder 2, so Pathfinder 2, the system, must support romance. That was sarcasm, by the way, if I didn't make it painfully clear. I think in this post, I actually just shared many of the same anecdotes I've shared today, so I don't think I'm going to get too much more out of it. I said I have literally had astonishing growth as a person through role-playing these relationships out, and that probably sounds downright goddamn crazy to most typical RPG players. I said that in 2024. I said, that's the thing. That's what I play RPGs for, the immersive quality, the what would a day in their life look like, even at a higher level of someone capable in combat and dungeon delving, because when you genuinely immerse, guess what? Real people have relationships. They have crushes, and they flirt, and most of them, you reason, do not want to end up alone. It all goes into grounding the world. I even have unrealized crushes within certain characters that haven't been seen and may never, because sometimes that be how it is. So I have a character in New Dawn that has a crush on somebody else and nothing has happened with it. So sometimes life be like that. That's why I think the New Dawn relationships work so well, because the characters all maintain ambitions, goals, etc. outside of the relationships. Yeah, it would be just so like I could just see it now and just eye rolling, just be like, oh my god, please find a passion. Pick up an art or a hobby or something. You cannot just pine after this character endlessly. That might speak to not to philosophize, that might speak to the needs of the player. They might be in an insecure place where they're propping up that insecurity by being overbearing in that relationship aspect. So, that's not great, but it's also revealing, so I don't know. I think main problem why romantasy does not work too well is that romance does not work well with life and death stakes. Romance has stakes about misunderstandings, not about world end. Well, yeah, sometimes it's fun to push the romance into life and death stakes as well. Yeah. Don't recall games that covered romance. Spoiler alert. That's one of the PDFs I have open to talk about because it's interesting. We'll get into, I think we'll pivot here in a little bit. After this comment, because I was going to say this too. Alejandro's comment is exactly why PF2 does do relationships well. Not kidding. You can't mathify it. It's best with no mechanics. Just leave it alone. IMO. That's what we're going to pivot to talk about. Is do you even want relationships or romance? So we're talking friendship, all that stuff. Do you even want that to have mechanical weight? Do you even want that? And I think sometimes you do. But I think for the deep kind of romances and relationships that we've been talking about, I don't think you do. I think the players bring that to the table themselves. A game that I was expecting to have some more mechanics for this, which I hope to talk about sometime on the channel, is The Last Caravan. The stinger for this game when the marketing first came out about it, and I don't think it's actually on the book, but there was something about the player characters, nurturing each other's emotional states through this road trip through a post-alien invasion war that left North America in like this apocalypse state. This is an awesome game. It's so cool. And somebody is going to play it with me. But mechanically in here, I was just looking at this last night prepping for this stream. There is really nothing about relationships in here. What it gives you is a very rich opportunity for relationships. And I'm not just talking romantic. This is very much like you might have a family on the road trip together. So brother-sister relationship, they've been estranged. What does that look like now? There are like downtime scenes when you're in the caravan in between phases, which are just ripe for developing relationships, but the game doesn't do a damn thing about pushing you towards those relationships. The abilities the characters have, they can heal each other, they can take care of each other. But any relationship you would bring to this game would be emergent from the context of the game rules, and the storytelling, and then the relationships would emerge from that if you had the right people who wanted it. In a similar token, Girl by Moonlight, which is very much a game about identity, self-discovery, very queer positive game, has a bond mechanic where in your downtime, critically, you need to do this. I forget what you call them, Kalana, the stay alive points. You need to have downtime scenes with your fellow party members. And those, again, it doesn't say they need to be romantic. There's even a move in one of the play sets called Share an Intimate Moment. Is it? I think it's in Maze of Dreams, which is like the Dreamscape one. Even that one, it's like, this doesn't have to be a romantic connection. But let me get the spot gloss there. So it gives you the context and the space to explore these things. And if you have a table that's not into it, they just won't touch it. But I do love games that give you the space to do it. I was thinking about, as I've been reading Legend in the Mist, where there's the fellowship theme. And that does require that you create relationship tags with other fellow players. And then you check in on those when you do camping scenes and sojourns. You check in and you update those and you see what those are. And those actually can be mechanically valuable. Those don't bother me so much, though. Not that any of these bother me, but those don't bother me because they're really about saying, like, there's a strength of a dynamic between me and this other character. And when it matters, I can invoke that to do the thing I want to do better. So I like that. That's kind of like on the top, right? Like, it could be there with or without the actual relationship scene work to support it. But I like that. I think Fabula Ultima is very much in a similar space, the bonds. Although, and I don't remember what they're called. One of you experts will tell me. But you can have admiration or whatever, and they can take any sort of different form. There's a little bit of mechanical teeth to it, but it's more of a starting off point. And the game leaves you to define that on your own. So then what does it look like to have a game that does have relationship mechanics and how do you reconcile with that? I think you need to go to those games with certain expectations, in the same way that a Powered by Apocalypse or Forged in the Dark game like Girl by Moonlight says, these are the themes that you are expected to explore. All of the moves and the powers in here and the transcendence supports those themes. And if you're not here for those themes, you're probably not going to have a good time, because you're not doing the thing. If I have a game that is about mechanically doing relationships, then I need to come to it with the mindset of like, hey, I'm here to do the thing. And I think that might be a different enough experience to be interesting and worth looking at, while knowing that you can always fall back on basically freeform relationship expression in any game where you have the right people and the right table and everybody's on the same page about it. So, rant over, and chat just went wild again. What have I been saying? Yeah. Stakes make relationships more interesting. And first, stop people from dying, then think about romance. Yeah, we're wrestling with that right now. We got a lot of people about to die in this scene, and there's plenty of romance. It's funny. Not to be a shameless shill, Alejandra. I will shill your stuff. You're in the thumbnail. Did you do the art piece for the thumbnail I used, by the way? I wasn't sure, and I was going to check with you. I was like, can I use this? But I was like, I don't know if people normally ask or how this, I don't know how any of this works. So I was like, I think she'll be cool with it, I hope. If that was one of your pieces. But you like the way Legend of the Mist handles it, where you can have a devotion theme that will influence how you act, but is not the core of your character. Yes, the devotion theme, I literally just screenshot the 5, what are they called, special improvements from the devotion theme, and I posted it into a chat with Kalana about Amy and Vafi, because I was like, look at these abilities and what they would do for that relationship. Because they're like, take the harm instead of the other person. Well, guess what? In Pathfinder 2, Amy took the cleric dedication, and she got the reaction where she can take damage for Vafi in her place if she's within 15 feet, which, maybe might happen once in a blue moon. So it's like, yeah, there are ways to mechanically represent devotion in games as well. That's really neat. Of course, Legend of the Mist with the devotion theme is very like right on top of it. It's like, hey, like there's a person or a group that you're all about. And I love that. Helps you do things. Yeah, we're all excited to play Legend of the Mist. There's a bunch of us reading it right now. I'm studying it like crazy to get our play-by-post going. So we're fans. We are fans. Like games that mechanize horror, war, etc., you have to have a table that wants the unexpected results from the dice informing those outcomes and enjoys rolling with those results. Yes. So the moment you mechanize it, you are releasing it. That's a perfect way to put it. And that's actually a great way to contextualize games that I don't like. Games that mechanicize what your corruption or your rot or your whatever is going to be, these really grimdark games where it's like, let's leave that up. I'm like, no, I don't want to see it at all, but like I definitely don't want it like imposed on me and then I have to roll with it. No, thank you. So sometimes you just got to know when you're doing the right thing. Burning Wheel might be a good middle ground if you make a relationship a belief. Sure. Pendragon definitely includes romantic love as a passion, which mechanicalizes the relationship. Yeah, I can't speak intelligently to Pendragon other than knowing that they have the traits and they're kind of on a binary and they go back and forth. Not binary, but a gradient rather. But yeah, any of those BRP games, the BRP lineage, the Mithras, the Rune Quest, the Pendragons, all of those that have passions as a core mechanic. You can use those passions for anything. It could be an organization. It could be your thieves guild. It could be whatever. It could be your best friend. It could be your lover. It could be your parents. And so that gives you, again, like a fertile ground to like plant a seed of a thing and have a little bit of mechanical import to it. So. Oh, wow. Chat is just, I didn't even realize I was scrolled up so far. Omniscient Toad. Another Girl by Moonlight veteran. My vote is maybe thinking about something like Monster Hearts. Threads, one of the points of the game is to create relationship drama, and the fun is working through that. Yeah. And depending on the day or the time of the week, I might be in for that and I might not be. You know what I mean? Like it's like Kalana said, it's like when you surrender something to the mechanics, you are agreeing, I'm not going to have control over this. And my fun is going to be found in rolling with the punches. And so maybe that's a fun thing for some people with romance and relationships. Maybe it's not. But they are two kind of different expressions of it. So that's very cool. Delta Green Bonds, yeah, also in that lineage. You love the GBM relationship rules. When the game supports playing out relationships in different ways because I like having game stuff to help prompt what I do with the character. Yeah, of course, absolutely. And that's another thing too. It's like when I've talked about this before, when I think of a character, I'm looking to get something out of it. I want the experience. I want to learn about me or my friends. Those are my three. Learn about myself, learn about my friends, have a new experience. Also, sometimes when you're going to a particular game, you're also signing up for the same idea. It's just that the game is meeting you halfway, and they're saying the game is saying, I'm going to meet you with this experience. That's very much what Girl by Moonlight is saying. And if we get to it, because we're having so much fun talking, I don't know if we'll get to any of this stuff. But Defy the Gods is a game that kickstarted recently that I'm very interested in, and it's a Powered by the Apocalypse. It's not Sandal and what do they call it? Sword and Sandal. It's not Sandal and Sorcery. It's like Mesopotamian because the author Chris wanted to like further abstract just one more step from like the really familiar like the Greek and Roman mythology. So they went more Mesopotamian with it. But it's a game about it addresses queer topics, but it's also about relationships, and it's about relationships in the face of capricious gods who like they don't want you to be a hotshot. They don't want you to be good. So when you go out and you do hero stuff and you do better, the gods start to take notice of you, and then they try and slap you down. Fascinating game that I'm hoping to get my hands on someday soon. But we might look at how that game handles relationships, because I don't remember from reading the quick start if it explicitly does or not. Yes. Yeah, I'm reading all your guys' chat, but if I don't call something out, it doesn't mean I didn't read it. It just means we got a lot to talk about. Oh my God. That's amazing. That's so cool, Alejandra. That's great. I'm glad I got your permission retroactively. I was thinking through it and I was like, surely content creators don't ask for permission to use game art that's like on the cover, right? Because that's like free marketing. No, like nobody asks every time, but I was like, but this is a piece of art inside the book. I don't know. I'm glad you're cool with it. I was actually going to potentially bring up Lover's Gloves. So I'll bring it up right now, actually. So there are items sometimes in games that hint towards relationship stuff. And Lover's Gloves, doesn't that give you like bonus healing? I shouldn't speculate. I'll just go to it if I can get the page to open. Lover's Gloves. These white silk gloves are adorned in red hearts that glow faintly whenever you are adjacent to someone you feel particularly strongly towards. They buoy your spirit, giving you a +1 item bonus to diplomacy checks. And then you can activate them, and you grasp the hands of a willing creature. They get a +1 status bonus to saves and 10 temporary hit points for 10 minutes. If the creature shares your feelings, etc., when you both roll a success, you get a critical success instead. Yeah. So it's like, hey, here's an item that will amplify your love if you have that established in character. But there's no mechanical tag for like whether you're in love enough, right? So you're still bringing that to this item to explore. So that's cool. Yes. That is the perfect way to put it, Logan. Make sure that quote gets attributed to Kalana, because that was basically her idea. But it is a good quote. Mechanics in games that steer relationships are a little odd for me. It's the player role to define how far deep they want to go, so roleplay it. Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is some games have mechanics for this because they want to give you a particular type of relationship experience, and some games give you none of it. So those are out there for people to pick and choose which ones they want to play, and they will give different experiences. So it just sounds like, yeah, you're leaning more towards the free form, which is totally fine. Yeah, it's a cool looking game. I wish it had actually done better in backing, because it looks amazing. And it is PBTA, but I don't think it has moves, which is great because I don't like moves in PBTA games. I've only ever played moveless PBTA games. Which is why I like Legend of the Mist and Offworlders and so on and so forth. Lover's Not Talisman in Kingmaker. Gives yourself a quick heal, which is going to be a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. So there are games that they know these things exist and they put items in there to even address it. So it's not like they're entirely turning a blind eye to the fact that relationships exist. I think game designers also know that with a sample size of hundreds of thousands of players, you're going to have somebody do a relationship one way or another. I don't think they're ignorant of that, but yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's a cool story. Your character was interested in an NPC, and he attached it to her armor so she could be protected, and it ended up saving her life. It was powerful in the narrative. Very cool. Was that Valerie? That's my question for you. Was it Valerie? All right. Where have we gotten to now? Let's see my list of other things I was going to talk about. Yeah, I wrote down all the different relationships I've done in Play by Post. It's a long list. They're all just so fun. And, they can be cathartic too. But again, like, you have to be intentional with them. You should not. Again, going back to my disclaimer, like, don't play around with it if you're thinking that it's going to shake up your real life, because it might. So just don't. That's like when they say, don't flirt with the new girl at work, right? Like, don't even, if you're in a committed relationship and you don't think you can handle it, don't even go there. Oh, could you believe I was nervous to do this stream? Hours gone by, like nothing. All right, what do we want to look at? I should also mention, I'm going to mention, and I'm going to link this in our Discord. Friend of the channel, Hime Atsugi, who some of you guys have met, they also create solo RPGs. And one of the games that they've been working on and off over the last couple of years is a game called Ballads of Dawn. And it is a single-player solo RPG, kind of tied into, I believe they got most of their inspiration from like the romantasy, like webcomic scene, right? So it specifically touches on like being transmigrated or being sent back in time or being isekai'd into a story and then having relationships develop out of it. So it's this kind of romantic fantasy, castles and nations kind of a thing. But I have played through this a little bit, and it's really cool. It uses, uses tarot card resolution for a bunch of the prompts, and it has this whole like affinity tracking. I don't remember if they use the word affinity, but this tracking for what your relationships are to each supporting character. And there's a fate score and a favor score. So your fate score indicates like how likely they are to appear in the story, because you'll get a prompt and it might say, this prompt happens with the character you have the second highest fate with, for example. And then it also has a separate favor, which goes positive or negative. And then amongst that, they can pivot sideways into back and forth between platonic and romantic. And sometimes, depending on how you roll, you can actually like fall out of relationships, fall back into them. So it's a really cool game that they're putting together. And so we might look at that a little bit too. But I will link that on our Discord because it's they've put a lot of work into it. Very cool game. Last Caravan we talked about. I don't think I'm going to find anything in the text to talk about there, so we'll close that. Here's another one. Maybe we'll go over here. I'll see if I have my... Oh, I do have it set up. Look at that. Fight with Spirit is a sports drama RPG. And this has the similar style of a lot of when you're building up the players and the sports team that they're on. There's a lot of like, what is your relationship to these other characters? Are you rivals? Are you happy for them? Are they your sister that's always doing better than you and is the favorite, and you're the one who's trying to get your parents' attention? So we played this quick start and play by post as well. But this is another game that let me see if it really shows it anywhere clear and up front as far as relationships go. Where is it? And this is just the quick start, but there's actually a box set for this game that looks really cool. It's a storytelling game, you would call it. So there's no dice, but you're turning up a specialized deck of cards to see what prompts come up or if you win challenges. So your team makes a backstory together. Where is the stuff about? Yeah, so there are these trait cards, right? So down here on the bottom left, where you kind of like hand out these trait cards, and then you're supposed to identify which character that trait card applies to. So our new captain, who have you taken under your wing? So you build these connected relationships out before you start the play. So that's just another example of kind of mechanizing it, right? Because it's more like I don't know if dictating is the right word, but it's giving you again that starting off point, and then what you do from there on, you do in the role play or in the scenes themselves. So I think there's a lot of games that, as far as romance is concerned, that's as far as they go, romance or relationships of any kind. Here we go, form relationships. In this step, players will form relationships between their major characters by answering the orange questions on each other's traits. Each trait with an orange question will create a relationship between the owner of the trait and one other major character. And I did see, just briefly, I haven't read through Fiasco yet, but we're going to do a play of that coming up here in a little bit. That one of the first things you do is you establish the relationships between characters and then play them out. So here's Defy the Gods. You guys can see some of the... This is the quick start too, so I have no compunctions about showing you the whole thing. Maybe I'll read this. You guys might like this. If you don't, I'm sorry. Sorry to say it. But this is like a little kind of lore excerpt almost. Kuliana to the sorcerer. Make me a woman. Give her eyes like stars, cheeks like glowing apples, lips like figs, breasts and two dancing gazelles, hips like a bowl full of wine. Give her a voice like a songbird. Place wings on her feet that she may dance with gladness. Replied the sorcerer, not without sympathy. I will make you a woman, but my art has no neat channels. It floods. Here is what I foresee. You will have eyes like a branch lit at both ends, cheeks like heated bronze, lips like an open wound, breasts like two halves of an onion, and hips like a chariot full of salt. You will have a voice like a thunderclap, and after I will place a sword in your hands that you may know no peace nor captivity. From the Epic of Kuliana, Fragment 1. So that's the vibe of Defy the Gods. Yeah. I want to see, though, I just want to look specifically about what it does or doesn't do with relationships, because I don't recall. I did read this a while back. Safety tools up front and center. I love it. I love the art design of this project as well. It just really has a unique style that I don't tend to see in the mainstream, I guess, is what I would say. Not that I see that much. I'm not that well read, guys. I'm just stumbling through. Setting boundaries, yes. All important to the topics we've been discussing. This is cool. I'll just showcase this just because I think this game is cool. It says, keep it close to home. This world is its own thing. It's not the East, that surprisingly durable fantasy that the West has woven about everything other than itself. The GM section portraying the world has more details. However, keeping it close to home is something everyone, not just the GM, can participate in. Resist the urge to imagine a world of forbidden pleasures and sadistic cruelty or exotic lands and peoples. Instead, imagine yourself in this city. It's home. No matter how familiar you make it, this game will ensure you have wild experiences regardless. So I've made a thumbnail for discussing this game long ago when I was figuring out, like, how do I want to design my thumbnails? You know, what colors do I want to use? All that stuff. And one of the first thumbnails I made was for this game. And in it, I think the tagline, I said, I've got to find it. Excuse me while I cough through my upper lungs. I got to find the tagline I put on this game because I definitely called out RuneQuest in it. I said in this thumbnail, I said, Apocalypse Keys meets Thirsty Swords Lesbians meets ... RuneQuest question mark. Yeah. Maybe I'll just show you guys this thumbnail because it's a cool one. It's a cool one. Let's do this capture. Let's capture this screen. There you go. This was the thumbnail I made for this one. Pretty sick, right? It's pretty sick. Now I gotta find out where that went so I can turn it off. Okay, goodbye. Delete. close that tab. Cool. Yeah, I think this is a neat game. Here's some relationship happening right there of some flavor or other. Okay, making a move. Maybe this does have moves. They do. Okay, well, that's okay. I'm okay to like learn a game with moves. It's not my preference, but I want the experience of trying to play with them. Moves are very much telling you what the story wants to matter. As I've heard it explained, the moves tell you what the game cares about and when it expects you to slow down, stop, and disclaim what is about to happen to the dice. So again, when you mechanicize things, like as the designer, when you mechanicize a move, you are saying, this does not belong in your hands. This belongs in the game's hands. Your job is to react to it. So, moves, epithets. Okay. So I might actually be surprised to find out, because I don't recall if there even is any mechanical elements of relationships here, or if it's just doing that with its setup, its tone, and its setting. Okay, hearts. Yes. Okay, so it does have strings. Basically, this is what I wanted to see. Okay, I'm excited now. Hearts are something you collect from other people. They show how strongly those people feel about you and how much sway you have over them as a result. They may be physically attracted to you, admire you, feel vulnerable with you, or even be hatefully obsessed. You may win hearts from side characters or other adventurers. When you do, write the number of hearts you have in your playbook sheet next to their name. Writing down someone else's heart means you're the one who has the advantage. The person who feels strongly about you and, quote, gives you their heart doesn't write anything on their sheet. Hearts are a currency you can spend. You spend them to make the influence move, support the person whose heart it is, undermine them, or tempt them to do what you want. Example, Malika has 2 hearts from Ashmi, the sword, who's played by Alex. This means that Ashmi cares what Melem, Malika's sailor, thinks about her. In this case, Alex says it's because Melem has a tricksy way with words that Ashmi lacks, and that, for reasons she doesn't understand, makes her swoon. In the hearts section of Malika's playbook sheet, Malika writes Ashmi, 2. Whenever you feel yourself falling for someone, or when a move tells you to, make the give your heart move. The GM or other players may give you their hearts freely, or you make the entice move, winning their hearts despite themselves. When a side character has one of your hearts, the side character, through the GM, can try to influence you too. So, they did codify in this game an entire relationship mechanic, which is, so far as I understand it, the strings mechanic that shows up in Monster Hearts and may or may not have been original to Monster Hearts. I'm not sure. But the idea that you kind of get this leverage on people, which is basically like how much they kind of want you or want your approval, or they've given over their power to you in a way that's both intimate and kind of vulnerable. So interested to see how this plays out someday. Weirba says, I just remember how I handle the drama and relationships in one of my games. I just give players information, secrets they know about other characters and players, and they use this in roleplay. Yeah, that's definitely a way to do it. It may seem like hearts undercut the more direct way of defeating enemies by wounding them if you can just entice an enemy into giving you what you want. So you can actually use this to win. You can make enemies fall in love with you or be drawn to you or whatever. If you can just entice an enemy into giving you what you want, do you even need to fight them? This is by design. When you convince someone to stand by you instead of with a world force, which are like the larger-than-life entities, like the city. The parliament of the city is one of the world forces. The gods are one of the world forces. So you build those as a group when you play this game. Even if it's merely because they're hot for you, you have created a relationship. A strong enough web of relationships can rival even the power of the gods. That's what this game is about. So I think you can see why I'm excited about it based off of everything you know about me so far. This is a game, though, that it's different. You're going into it with this mechanical structure of relationships. You flip that different switch in your head and you come in and you say, now I'm just going to see what happens and I'm going to play it out like an actor reading a script, less than an author creating a story with another co-author. When you live under oppression, your emotional connections are a form of resistance. That is a beautiful line. And I love it to death. Love it to death. Let's see if they go into... here we go. When you get 4 hearts from someone, your adventurer has a special insight into theirs, and you may propose a new epithet for them. If they accept the epithet you propose, they write it in their playbook. See the Name Me move for more details. Since more epithets let you play your adventure longer, accepting a bestowed epithet is powerful. This is not a first look of Defy the Gods, so we won't get into all this, but basically you can kind of... It says you can propose a new epithet, first of all, so you do not impose this upon another character, but you can basically say, like, hey, your character is so into me in whatever way they're into me that, like, this is kind of like, I'm changing you. You're changing yourself to like, be with me, be around me, and that's mechanically represented by changing the epithets, which are kind of like, these are kind of like quests in Legend in the Mist, if I remember correctly. They're basically like the things that you are supposed to do, and if you don't do them, there's consequences, so on and so forth. Yeah, fire is a cool mechanic. This is when you're like burning too hot, you're getting too much attention from the gods. But I want to go to, before we leave Defy the Gods, this it's a quick start, so it doesn't have bookmarks put in, so I apologize for the scrolling. How it all fits together. We're gonna have to go a couple pages back. GMing the game. Look at this, though. Just look at the vibe of this book. Like, they're definitely going hard on a very particular aesthetic, and I respect that immensely. Narrative moves. Here we go. We're getting to the moves. Playbooks are the sword, the sorcerer, the sailor, the vessel, the wolfling, the revenant. It's really cool stuff. Come on now. Here's an adventure. Oh, that's right. Epithets are kind of like your health. So I don't think there's hit points in here. There's not hit points at all. But the way that you defeat enemies is you basically like defeat their core beliefs. And if they go down from like 1 epithet to 0 or whatever, they're like taken out. So you're literally attacking their beliefs by like being a force for whatever your priorities are. Onward. It's got to be here somewhere. I know they list the moves. You know what it is? It's in the character sheet, I bet. Well, let's get it up. Let's do it. We're not in a rush. Where is my folder, though, that has it? All right. So here we go. Yeah. So here's like a playbook sheet if you're the Revenant playbook, and you're tracking the hearts that you have with, different characters in the top right. Your epithets and dooms. Man, this game is such a vibe. So these are the specific moves to the playbooks. Again, it's not a first look at this game. Someday maybe. But let me get to the shared moves. I believe that is how it works, yeah. That you can basically take damage to the things that you believe in, and that makes you weaker, is the concept. It's a cool game, dudes. It's a cool game. These are... Okay, are we getting close, finally? Where are you? See the hearts move and basic moves. Here we go. Okay, at long last. Imagine if I had been prepared. Oh, Adobe, stop. Thank you. Okay, so the Entice move. When you appeal to someone's physical or emotional sensibilities, invoke an epithet and roll. On a glowing success, you attract their interest. This is your... Did they do 8 to 10 here or 7 to 9? I don't remember. But your middle result in PBTA, basically. You attract their interest, gain +1 heart from them, and they choose one. Get flustered and off balance, betray a world force for your sake, give in to their desire. I love this. On a burning success, you get in over your head, gain +1 heart from them, and they choose one above and one below. This is some fiddly PBTA language that I don't understand, so I'll have to read closer for that. Oh, do they mean one above, like literally above, meaning up here? Is that what they mean? I guess that is what they mean, because you're getting both. A burning success is not a good thing. This is 10 plus or 11 plus. So this uses the resolution that Apocalypse Keys uses, where in that game you're like monstrous, like BRPD investigator guys, like Hellboy type stuff. And when you roll too high, it's like you've given into your monster too much, and there's like collateral damage. This is the same idea. That a success that's too high is actually bad for you in some ways. So, in addition to one of the above, you fall for them, they gain 1+ heart from you too. So, you're not cool and collected. You're also falling for them as well. Or you spark sublime passion, you both mark fire. Yeah. On a miss, your temptation falls flat, attracting a world force's ire instead. The GM will say what else happens. I don't know vampire, but messy critical has a beautiful phrase. I love that. Influence. So these are the different moves. Influence, when you want to help. Excuse me. I'm going to drink some more tea. When you want to help, hinder, or sway someone, spend a heart of theirs and pick one. Tempt them to do something. If they accept, give them 1 XP. If they refuse, don't spend the heart. Anytime a game offers you XP for something, the game is saying, this is what I want you to do, and this is what I want you to experience. Because the only way for me to make you do this thing I want you to do is to give you a little cookie. So anytime you see that, that's telling you, as the players, A, use the influence move to tempt players to do something so they have this chance, and B, if you are tempted, give in. That's what the game's telling you. If they refuse, don't spend the heart. Find out what it would take to get them to do what you want. For a side character, they may simply agree. So this is cool because you can force, let's say, them to reveal what it would take to get them to do what you want. I know I'm just basically rereading it again, but I think it's neat. Aid or thwart them. After they roll, adjust their result by +or -1. Oh, it's so cool. Get under their skin. Increase the result of your move towards them by 1 after you roll. When using this move on behalf of side characters who have hearts on the adventurers, the GM may pick only the first 2 options. When you use this roll to aid or thwart the sorcerer, you may give them 1 more die to roll, remove 1 die from their rolled pool of dice, or add or subtract a pip on one of their dice. The sorcerer is a playbook that does, it has its own magic system that uses d6s. So that's a specific rule for how to interact with the sorcerers. Give your heart move. When you admire someone or fall for them a little bit, give them +1 heart. Doesn't have to be a lot. That's cool. And name me. When you have 4 hearts from someone, you get a special insight into them, something even they don't know. Ask their player what it is, then offer them a new epithet to reflect it. So it's a conversation. You're not dictating it to them. You're working together. They write the new epithet in a blank epithet slot. If they have no blank slots, they replace an existing epithet. The new epithet is worth +0. Reduce the hearts of theirs that you have to 1. Again, we don't have context for all of that because it's not about this game today, but it's a neat one. So let's take a break from PDF world. All right. This is a big topic. We've covered a lot. Coming up on 2 hours already. You like the danger of too much unchecked passion, showing the risk dangers of relationships connection, yeah. And especially in the context of that game with drawing the attention and the ire of the gods. It's like, hold up, be careful. We did talk about Legend in the Mist relationship tags. And again, that's in the style of giving you a springboard. Legend in the Mist, by and large, in a lot of ways, is about giving you a springboard. It asks you to name tags that are true in the world of your character, and then I've called this before. Okay, when I think about creating a character, and you hear people complain about the players that come with a 10-page backstory. Again, maybe that's fine for some tables, but generally, I think the sentiment is, please don't come with a 10-page backstory. We're here to find out who you are while we play. And we also don't want all your best things to have happened in the past before we even sat down to play. Like, this is supposed to be the game where we find out what cool things you do now. So that's the general counter to the 10-page backstory, as it's called. I generally think of it like I want a half-page backstory. I need just as much context as I need to inform what decision the character is about to make. If I am going to have a character make a decision and I can't point back to why they made that decision in their backstory, I will either backfill it or I will create a new truth for them in my own conception of the character from there going forward. It's kind of the two ways to say the same thing. So I have always said that creating a character for me is like winding up a top and then you pull the ripcord and then you let it spin. And that's how I engage with RPGs, or I try to anyway. Some will say like, oh, you can never separate yourself from the character. Truly, it's all just you in the end. And there are elements of that, of course. But I think it is possible to create distance between you and a character, to have experiences that you didn't see coming. That story I shared with Hanlon and Sarah, it was 10 minutes before he gave in to actually being intimate with her, where I was in the out of character chat and Hippo was like, oh no, like, where's this going? And I was like, no. He's just here to have a conversation. And he was not just there to have a conversation, which he realized himself. So I've been surprised by characters before. I've been surprised by characters in how they interact with or think about relationships. So that's happened a lot. And I think it's rewarding. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. And I like role-playing. Could you imagine? I like role-playing games. There was one other game I wanted to look at least today, because a few of us were just talking about this last night. And Thaddeus, I think, mentioned it. Blue Rose, which I know next to nothing about. I did some research, and it's based on the Age system, which came out of Dragon Age, but then they changed it to Adventure Game Engine, so they could keep using the term Age and publish different games under the line. And I guess there's an Expanse game using the Age system as well. Oh, you know what? Yes, let's talk about this. I love this story. So again, we're back to Hanlon, Safa, the Kitsune, and Sterling. And they worked out some sort of polyamorous relationship where Hanlon and Safa were together and Sterling and Safa were together. But Hanlon and Sterling were not. They were very much just like, and I think we even had a scene, didn't we, where we're like, what do I call you? And I think we settled on partner. And that went on for several months, maybe 8. No, it was way longer than that, wasn't it? It was over a year. Okay, I got to pull up the sheet tracker because I got to know. It went on for a while where they were in that dynamic. Because I want to say it was the first summer of the first year we were playing, and it lasted for about a year and a half almost until they actually came around to realizing that they loved each other too. So when you talk about slow burns in RPGs, I don't know why I thought this would be easy to find either. So, I'm going to find it though. I've committed this much. Plus, streams have got to have, high moments and moments to collect yourself and think. Where is it? Aha. Okay. So it was July. So about 7 months of play to get them to the polycule relationship that they had. And then it was another. It was a long while. It was about another year. I can't find it by post title. Anyway, I don't know how it was for you, Hippo, but for me, I realized that Hanlon was also falling in love with Sterling. And that was coming from a place of like really respecting her capabilities as a fighter and her passion and her love of Safa and seeing how they interacted with each other. And we fought a dragon. So yeah, that was in October of that year when we fought the dragon. And they won, barely. That was a tough fight. And there was some sort of like teasing going back and forth. and I jokingly had Hanlon try to trip Sterling, which is never going to happen. And then I think you voluntarily failed the roll or something. And so like they end up like tussling on the ground, right? And then I'm like, okay, this is a moment where Hanlon could potentially just spontaneously kiss Sterling, even though there was nothing between them at that time. And so I rolled for it and he failed. And I was like, damn it. So that didn't happen. And I let that like fester again for like many, many more months. And then there was a scene at the tavern where they were there with a bunch of other characters and they were playing a drinking game. And Sterling was talking about how she was finding this other woman attractive. It might have been Ivory, actually. She was making some comment about Ivory. And then like I just had Hanlon react, just kind of being like, oh, like sad. Oh, was it the dragon fight too? Yeah, well, maybe I planted the seeds really well. But anyway, so Hanlon goes up then to the bartender, which is Sarah, the woman that he had a casual, thing with for about 3 months the prior year. And I had him go up in scene and be like, hey, I just want to thank you for teaching me a lesson that I needed to learn. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you taught me that like, just because I can't always have everything doesn't mean I don't have a lot. And he just kind of resigned himself to like, okay, I'm in this relationship with Safa. Safa's in this relationship with Sterling. I'm also in love with Sterling, but she doesn't seem to be feeling the same way. So that was like me both as a player and as a character, like taking my foot off the gas there, just to see what would happen. And then I think it was like a month later in play, like Hippo and Sterling came around and came to visit Hanlon in his office. And then we had a little scene where she was like, I think I have feelings for you. Actually, it was in that same scene, Hanlon left, and then Sterling went up to Sarah and was like, I don't know what to do. I think I'm falling in love with Hanlon. And she's just like, well, you should probably sober up before you do anything about that. So that was good. That was a great story. All right. LARP version of Logan began a connection with a person who he could have easily fallen in love with, but their interaction was all based around how this other character, Angora, was seen. They are now intensely close, but there's no romance there. It's so interesting. I love a good dynamic. Yeah, really strong platonic relationships are also really fun to play with. You forgot about that. Yeah, that was a great scene. That's one I go back and reread every now and then. Sterling was making comments drunkenly about features of the female body that she liked, and Hanlon was like, oh, I don't have those. I don't have those features. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. No, they were all very close. I mean, they were all in the same house living together, so it was very close. But yeah, platonic relationships are also like strong platonic relationships are really fun too. So even Hanlon and Vafi, who's with Amy, Hanlon and Vafi have a strong like thing that they're going to have to explore again when he comes back, because she was there for him as like a counselor mediator after he got pulled out of a time loop where he died and watched his loved ones die over and over and over and over again. This is a really big campaign, guys, with a lot of characters. And for those of you who are like hearing about this campaign and these stories from the outside, I hope they're entertaining to you and you're finding some value in them. But man, I said it before, I'll say it again. My favorite media franchise is that Pathfinder game. So, yeah, there's like a very interesting like friendship counseling relationship there. Which was funny because then after that, the day that Amy and Vafi confessed their love to each other, Amy was worried that Vafi was falling in love with Hanlon because Amy was like, Hanlon's already got 3 partners. I know you've heard of 2 of them, but one of them is a shapeshifter. So some people thought they were 2 different people. So Amy is like, he's already got 3 partners. Like maybe he'll take a 4th. Maybe that would be good for Vafi. Maybe I should encourage her to pursue Lord Hanlon. And there was this whole scene where they were both like, what? No, I'm not interested in Lord Hanlon. Like, I thought you were saying you were interested in Lord Hanlon. And Amy's like, no. It was fun. I can't believe there's still 11 of you watching. This is hilarious. Just listening to my RPG stories. It's a good time. Anyway, if you want to role play games with me or any of the people that I've been sharing these stories about, join our Patreon, because we're starting up a Legend in the Mist game, and who knows how spicy that's going to get. Who knows? Oh man. This has been a good time. You're all great sports for listening to this. What else? I mean, we've talked so much about relationships, romance, and RPGs. What else is out there in your guys' heads? Things you're thinking about, things you're questioning, wrestling with. Clearly, as we know, and I read one of the comments from someone, they were like, "It's not for me. I don't like it. It's cringe. I don't like being a part of it. I don't like seeing it." That person has characters in this New Dawn campaign as well, and presumably he just does not read any of those scenes, and that's fine. I don't know what this means, Hippo. You're a third here because of Ike's? What does that mean? Yeah, come play with us. We don't suck. That's the tagline. I should put that in my bios and stuff. No. Legend in the Mist. We're not going to go straight hard into tragedy, are we? Surely not. We got good people. We've got good people, and we need you. If you're not with us, come join. It's cool. What else? Guys, I'm kind of out of gas. I mean, we hit on a bunch of stories. White and Edwin, that was a hilarious relationship, the way that started. I might tell that story if we keep going. Oh, I see what you mean. Is he doing stuff? Is he getting ready to kill us all? Yeah, let's see. What are some ways that people can play out ongoing relationships without being too tropey or evolving, including ending them? Not sure if that's too much of a downer. Too much of a downer of a question? Hardly, no, not at all. I'll admit, I've only seen one relationship fail, and it was the Hamlin-Sarah relationship. It was doomed to fail from the start, and everybody knew it going in. Everybody in the campaign knew it. I knew it. The GM running Sarah knew it. We knew that was an incompatibility that was not going to get resolved. The only way for that relationship to continue to go on was for Hamlin to be like, you know what? I don't care that we're just a casual thing. I'm good with it. And you can also have this casual thing with whomever else you want. That's not Hamlin, though. Yes, did he find himself in a polycule later on? Yeah, but as a character, he's like, I need the stability. I need the certainty and the stability and the safety of being in a well-defined relationship. He couldn't do the like laissez-faire, like whatever. He couldn't do it. But playing out how that relationship ended was a huge turning point for him. Because there was it's such a cool story. There was this other stuff going on. He got imbued by this patron of the night, which that's coming to a head shortly. It's a new mission coming up. Stay tuned. And so that was all happening around the same time, and that was for him the moment that he realized what he wanted was a family, because his childhood was kind of fucked up, to be straight. His parents loved him, but they were affiliated with a group that made for not a great childhood. And so that was the moment that he realized, hey, what I want is I want a family. And that recontextualized for him what it meant to be the leader of that town and to run that town. And suddenly everything he did was towards creating the safe place and the safe home that he wanted to have kids in. That was this whole like nightmare realization that he had. And then he woke up, and Safa was like watching him sleep because he had these intrusive nightmares. And so he woke up, and in the dream he had like grabbed this staff of power, but I wrote it so that when he woke up and he realized he was like grabbing Safa's leg, and then he's like, oh my God, sorry. So that was funny. And that's when Safa, who was shapeshifting back and forth between Aiko, not two different personalities, but it's complicated. That was when she was like, hey, like, I might be interested in that. And then he was just like, what? And so that's how their relationship kind of had a false start, because that kind of didn't work, and then it got complicated. But there is an element of being okay with relationships ending, because relationships end sometimes. I haven't seen too much of it, but playing them out ongoing, I think it would be perfectly reasonable if someone or anyone who plays any of these characters that I have characters in relationships with, if they say to me like, hey, I'm not really feeling the dynamic of this relationship anymore. I'm not sure my character is feeling the dynamic of this relationship anymore. How do we want to handle it? It could be like, well, does the relationship change and they continue it, or does it fall apart, or like what's the obstacle they're trying to overcome here? We've had a lot of time apart Safa went on some personal quest to go figure herself out for many months, and then Hanlon sacrificed himself to save a bunch of people, which was coterminous with I had to take a break from the game. So they've actually been apart for quite a while, which means, again, if you're playing in real time and there's any sort of separation, when that separation comes back, you've actually lived through that time of them not being together as well. And so the feeling of them joyfully coming back together is going to be all the more fueled by the real time of the players having their characters apart too. I don't know if that answers the question. But I would say, you don't have to commit to them being ongoing relationships. You should probably be open to the idea that they could end. Unless I think I was messaging with Kalana about Amy and Vafi, and I should have had like images of these characters up here because I'm talking about 300 people. But we basically said when they did actually get together, we were like, "Hey, I don't want to do the whole second act of the romance arc where they like misunderstand each other and they break apart for a while and then they come back together. Like I don't really want to do the tragedy with these guys. They're just too perfect for each other. So let's just explore what it's like for them to be perfect for each other." But there's still tension there because Amy just came out of being in a time frozen sleep. She's been gone for 4 months, and Vafi has like been trying to process this and move on. She's looking for a cure for why she was frozen in time. And dynamics are different now. So even there's like some angst and some tension there as a player too, where you're like, oh, it's not how it was. They still love each other and they're still very interested in being together, in a lot of ways. And but there's a tension there. Things have changed, and mechanically, Kalana's character Vafi leveled up higher than Amy did. And when I came back to the game, everybody's like, hey, put your characters at whatever level. You had to be away, and we understand. But I was like, maybe I don't. And maybe we see what it's like for Amy to be weaker than Vafi and see what that does. Because Amy is supposed to be her protector and guardian. And now Vafi is 3 levels higher than her, which in Pathfinder 2 means she is 2.5 times as powerful, more or less, which is wild. So, if things feel like maybe they're getting stale or stagnant, you just revisit it. Maybe you find an end to the story or the campaign entirely, and then the relationship just continues into the fan fiction of your own mind of the story. That goes to another relationship that we had in a game, in our Girl by Moonlight game, between Io, played by Kalana, and Sebastian, who was an NPC played by me. And that one was funny because that was Girl by Moonlight, right? So you're introducing consequences to people's roles. And I don't remember if this came up as a poisoned promise in the first mission, but they were rescuing this guy. He was getting turned by the darkness or whatever. And they were rescuing him. And he was about to subject his son, Sebastian, to the same fate. So Sebastian's like tied to a chair, and there's like these futuristic techno demon things that are about to like make him go look into this mirror that's going to suck all the emotion out of him, and he's going to be an agent for the what do we call it? It wasn't the bad future, the empty world. That's what it was called. This empty world, which was a future possibility. They were sending people back in time to try and suck all the emotions out of everybody because they thought that was the pure way to live. So as a consequence to Kalana's character, I said, Sebastian knows who you are now. He knows your secret, like, crime fighting, whatever identity, and he is going to blackmail you to go on a date with him. And it was supposed to be this really gross thing. Like, I was like, this is not above board. This is not okay. But at the same time, I was like, as an NPC, I was like, he just doesn't know how to handle being or approaching her the right way. And so he saw this as an opportunity to like start this false relationship with her. And she complied because she was being blackmailed. And so there was like a little coffee date scene that they had. And then later on, there was a scene where, and full credit to Kalana on this, because she messaged me and she was like, hey, he should ask her if he can kiss her. And I was like, where are you going with this? I'm not sure I understand. So we played it out, and I had Sebastian ask Io if he could kiss her. And then she's just like, why are you asking? I have to do everything you want. So like, I don't understand. And then she's like, oh, you want this to appear real to people. Okay. And she is, she wasn't trying to be manipulative about it. But I hear Kalana's responding. I gotta make sure I'm saying everything right. Chat's not keeping up. Oh my god, chat has not been keeping up at all. Look at all this stuff. Okay, well, stay on track, and then I'll go back. It wasn't Poison Promise. Okay, yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah, you did ask for the Poison Promise. So in this scene where Sebastian asks Io if he can kiss her, and she's like, "No, like I'm basically like your prisoner in this situation. Like, what are you talking about? Like, of course I'll kiss you. Like, I have to because you're going to betray us if I don't." And he had this moment as an NPC of being like, "Oh my fucking god! Like, this is not how I thought this was going. I thought this was my foot in the door, and we were actually building a relationship." And then he's like, "Oh my god, I'm a terrible person." And he like gets sick to his stomach, and he like falls to his knees, and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I thought we were building something real, and I see now that like the way I went about this is all wrong." And so he basically like released her from it. He's like, "I'm not going to tell anybody who you guys are. I'm not going to reveal any of your secrets. Like, I'm sorry I put you through this. Whatever." And so that was the status quo for a while. And then I ended up sending them into this bad future for the fourth and final mission of the game. And they go into the future. They transport from this forest into the future. It's the same forest, but all the trees are cut down and everything's just gray. Like the ground is gray, the sky is gray. There's no color, there's no life, there's nothing. And they're like, "What the hell happened here?" And there's a guy sitting there waiting on a stump. And he like stands up and he's like, "Oh my god, it worked." So whoever this character is, he had known they were going to arrive there at that time, which is explained. And then they find out that it's old Sebastian, and he's 30 years older, and he's basically been like waiting through this horrible future because his dad found out that they would be time traveling so that he could meet them, so he could keep them safe, so that they could fight against this darkness in the future. And there was a moment where none of the players knew that it was Sebastian yet. I had done some crappy little AI art, you know. I was just like this, but 30 years older, you know. He kind of looked like him, but I was like, I had Sebastian like keep looking at Io, who was Yorikobi, her transformed or transcended state, and I kept making it very clear in the writing. I was like, he is definitely like staring at you. So Kalana writes basically like, "Why do you keep looking at me?" And then I had him write like, "I never missed a chance to look at you, not when we were rivals, not when we were dating, and not now," or something like that. And then she's like, "Oh my god, it's Sebastian." So then like she was like, "Oh, like he still cared about me all this time. He knows he went about this in all the wrong ways and that I was on to someone else. But he always cared about me." And then that ended up being like this micro relationship in the future with like 50-year-old Sebastian and like 20-something-year-old Io, which was a little weird. And he was like, "This is a little weird." And she was like, "No, but like I can feel how much you care about me." And then when it was all said and done, they they time traveled back to the regular time, and she like races over to his house, and like they have their whole like, "Oh my god, like let's try this out" kind of thing. It was really awesome. Really awesome story. Yes, that was the line. "I've never missed an opportunity to look at you. I'm a romantic. I write good shit sometimes." Wow. I know you said you liked it, but that one of the best things you've read, period. Yeah. I have that whole story, not the whole campaign. I want to do the whole campaign into a polished document. But I have the story as far as it interrelates to those two and all the scenes that those two are in. I have in a document somewhere. So it was good. I cannot believe there are still 11 of you sitting and listening to me tell stories about RPG romances, but maybe you're a thirsty bunch. I don't know. Hands down, you're too kind. You're too kind. Good scene partners make for easy work. I made that quote the other day while we were doing all of the Evelyn and Thane thing at the party. I said good scene work is opening up as many doors as you can and then letting your scene partner choose which one to walk through. And I thought that was a really good quote. So that was fun. Well, guys, it's been 2 hours talking about romances in RPGs. We covered a lot of ground today. A lot of stories, A lot of great conversation with you guys. So let me know if you got anything else. Thank you again to both Tortuga and Thaddeus for their contributions to the fusion cells. We're in the green, or in the black, I guess you could say, for the channel. Which I wanted to cover my initial costs, which were $100 for a couple licenses I had to buy. But I never thought that I would have already accounted for basically everything hobby related or remotely channel related from the last 6 months. So it's only up from here. I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to have a platform to create a space that I hope you find value in. Once again, I hope it is continuing to be a place that attracts other like-minded folks who just want somewhere that they can be safe, express themselves, experience what there is to offer from role-playing games and good, really good friendships and community. So that's what we're building here. But with that said, let's see if any of our friends are out there in the world building their businesses up. And Zachary is still going. So we're going to go to Zachary. Unless anybody's got any last minute questions, I'll give you a minute. Last minute questions, things you want to discuss, things you want to talk about in the future. This was the first official The London Hour branded stream, really. This is supposed to be the space where we're talking about topical, broad items. As you could see, we went through multiple RPGs just looking for, we didn't even pull up Blue Rose. Didn't even get to that. So that'll be a topic for another day. Thanks, Logan. I appreciate it. You're very kind. The distraction from impending doom. Again, we're going to have a bunch of characters die here pretty soon. NPCs mostly, we hope. Not that we hope. You know what I mean. Yeah, it was a great stream. It was great hanging out with y'all. Yeah, we didn't get to Blue Rose, but that's okay. Maybe we'll look at that separately some other time. It also seems to be a game that doesn't have that many mechanical relationship elements, but it definitely is very going hard on the romantic fantasy genre. And in the quick start, it calls back to romanticy, I guess you'd call them today, authors of the time as a trend that started to emerge. I think it said in the text in the 90s, and it lists some particular authors, none of whom I'd heard of. So it seems like it made a really ripe setting to explore romantic fantasy without necessarily beating you over the head with mechanics. That said, I am really excited for Defy the Gods. Looking at that again today, I was like, oh yeah, I remember how hyped I got for this a couple months ago. So I'll have to, I think it's still in pre-order. I'll have to try and pick that up one of these days. We could talk, if you've got a minute, Hippo, and you want to talk about Mila and Faith, throw out some prompts, because again, like I try to remember as much as I can about things, but that was a beautiful relationship. Sisters, Mila was adopted, so adopted sister relationship. We'll talk about Mila and Faith. I love it. Okay, yeah, so that's the vibe I was getting. System doesn't concern itself with the romantic relationships, but the setting goes in hard. Yeah, I read just the intros and I was like, wow, we're being all the inclusive things here. This is awesome. Mila and Faith. So Mila's parents were revolutionaries and they were killed, right, Hippo? As part of her backstory in Love is a Battlefield, which was our second Girl by Moonlight campaign. Same one with Io and Sebastian. And yeah, that scene made me cry. You had me reread that the other day. I was like, oh, I'm crying again. So Mila is kind of the Cinderella in a way. She's basically expected to just help Faith with everything. Faith is in this advanced program at the university called the Artisans. God, we made all this stuff up together and it's been so long. The Artisans program, because the world does not encourage the showing of emotions, but they still need to make things. So the Artisan program was like, we're going to develop you as a creative person, but we're going to keep it like locked down, right? Everybody else just lives normal lives, drab colors, like not exciting things going on. But Faith is in the Artisans program. Io was in the Artisans program, and Sebastian was in the Artisans program. All the other characters were not, but they were. So Mila was like very much like doting on Faith everywhere she could, trying to be the best sister, the best support. Faith was not kind to her. She had that kind of like brutal kindness where if you looked closely, you could see that she cared, but she was also just kind of all about herself. And their family had gone through some crap too. Their mother was killed or disappeared or both. That was a plot that came up later. But Mila was not a student. However, she would accompany Faith to school. She would help her with her homework. She would do she would cook all her meals, do all her laundry, do all her cleaning so that Faith could just focus on this artisan program. And that was the dynamic in the relationship they had. So it was really interesting to play against Hippo with that relationship, adopted sister relationship, because Faith was cruel. She was not kind to her. She was demanding and expecting. But there was a scene, I think it was the first obligation scene that they had. And, there were a bunch of like basically mean girls at another table. And they were talking about how like Faith must be like, she must be special needs or whatever because she has to have her assistant with her at all times. And Mila goes over there and she's just like all cheery. She's just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, did you need something? Can I help you with something? And they're just like being nasty or whatever. And Faith basically shuts them down. She's just like, hey, don't listen to the no talent, because they're not in the artisans program. She's like, don't listen to the no talent and whatever, yada, yada. Plus, like, I need you to come home and cook for me or whatever she said. And then my favorite moment is I had Faith just be like, your sweater is cuter than theirs. And that was her. Like, it's like very much like Princess Bride. It's like when she said, your sweater is cuter than theirs, what she really meant was, I love you. And then Hippo had Mila write back like, thanks, I like your sweater too. And I had Faith go like, I didn't ask. So it's just this really kind of like harsh dynamic, but Mila obviously loved her. And Faith loved Mila. And then when they got teleported to this future, they find out that Faith has become a professor now at the academy, but the emotion has actually, it's not like downplayed anymore. It's actually been removed from like the world metaphysically. Emotion is gone. So Mila comes in to see her, and gosh, I'm going to get teary-eyed just thinking about it. Like Faith is just like, I was on my own for 30 years without you. And Mila's like starting to cry and like apologize. And Faith is just like I was angry. I was hurt. I was betrayed. And Mila's just crying and is like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But then Faith is like, no, listen, you made me realize that without you, I was nothing special. And I had to like up my own game. I had to cook my own meals. I had to do my own laundry, all these things that you were supposed to do for me, and you weren't there. So anyway, they kind of reconcile and whatever. And anyway, big tearjerker scene, the way that we wrote that together. So that was great. Yeah, her parents were killed protesting against the Promise was the name of the organization. Yeah, of course Mila didn't see her as cruel. Mila is the origin of why Hippo is a marshmallow. That's where that comes from. So, okay. Well, with that was a good story to end on. Mila and Faith. There's a lot of other scenes between them too. I really do need to sometime, maybe sometime when I have a productivity stream where I can just sit here and assemble that document, pull all the text from the roleplay channels in the Discord and put it into a document and share it to, at least the people that were in it. And if everybody's on board, further than that. But anyway, peak marshmallow. Hippo is always peak marshmallow, for sure. Okay, with that said, like I said earlier, our buddy Zachary is streaming. Zachary may have hit Twitch affiliate today. He started streaming a couple months ago. He's a friend of the channel. He's in our Discord chatting with us. An artist, also a writer. He writes romantasy. So topical. But anyway, if he hasn't hit affiliate by now, I think he might have earlier today. But if you go and follow me over there as we do our classic little manual raid, just pop in there for a second if you'd be so kind, say hi, and then you can drop off. It's always great to see support in our community, and we'll see if we can help boost Zachary to stardom. Chill friend of ours. So we love Zachary, and we're going to head over there now. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this experimental kind of stream. I hope you enjoyed it. It seems like we had a lot of great engagement, and we can do more topical streams like these in the future. If you ever have any ideas, shoot them my way. Leave them in the comments. If you're here on the VOD, do the liking, the subscribing. I think I'm close to 50 subscribers, so that would be a neat milestone if we could hit that today. Need 2 more if you're not following already. do that hype thing. If you're watching the VOD on mobile, it says, do you want to hype this VOD or whatever? Hit the thing. It doesn't matter what it does. Just press it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for all the great comments. With that said, did I say all the things I'm supposed to say? Like, support, follow, go to the Patreon, find out how cool all my friends are, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go check in on Zachary. Thank you guys so much. Fantastic stream and time with you guys today. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Love you all, and we'll see you again on London Station. Bye.